Guys, my name's Jason Taylor. I was born in Ortiz, New Mexico, and I grew up in West Texas till I was about 10. My family ranches out there. My grandmother's got a big ranch, and my family is still in West Texas. That's what they do, is they run cattle. They're probably running, my grandmother's ranch under one fence is like 130-something thousand acres. Big place. I grew up cowboying. I've been a horseback since I was a little kid. I can remember it at the age of 4 and 5, we'd go to gather cattle, and we always had saddlebags, and Daddy'd put Vienna sausages or cheese crackers on one side and Cokes on the other side. And I was pretty little, so whenever, as the day went on, I had to pee. I didn't get off my horse to pee. I just stood up in the saddle because I couldn't get back on by myself. But we gathered cattle a lot and worked cattle a lot. I've loved cowboying. I've been forced in my life to do other things, oil field work, been in feed store businesses, had 2 different feed companies. But my heart's always been the cowboy and lived the cowboy life. I grew up pretty hard. Mom and Dad divorced when I was 7. Stayed a little while with my mother, and then I ended up with my daddy because I needed to be with him, me and my 2 brothers. And then, you know how once families are split, one of my brothers goes back to my mom. And me and my middle brother Dale, we pretty much ended up staying with Daddy from the time I was 10, and was raised pretty hard, working hard. Never went to church. Sunday was just a day that we could work a full 12 to 14-hour day with Dad, and Dad didn't cater to no whining or whimpering. If you was man enough to get in the wreck, you had to get yourself out of it, and get hurt or get in a storm or break a bone. There wasn't no sense really throwing no fit or whining about it. You just got it fixed and went on with life. So I grew up pretty, I don't want to say hard, and I sure wasn't abused, but we grew up pretty fast, and in doing that, my picture of a man has always been real hard, real tough. Never cried, never showed no pain. But when that happens in your life, as humans, I don't think once we do that, we don't have the ability to love and feel. We kill it. We start killing that tenderness, that gentleness, that spirit that loves. And a cowboy is one of the most loving, caring people you'd ever meet. No other person I know of will ride all day in the freezing cold, pouring rain to get a set of cattle out of a place because it's going to flood or because they got calves they need to get up. Or no other person I know would spend hours upon hours hunting a cow or a calf so they can reunite that pair that got separated by accident. And cowboys just got a special place in their heart that they don't want nothing to hurt. They don't want nothing to be without. They want to take care of everything. They want to tend to stuff. They want to take care of it. You take a good horse, a cowboy, if he's worked 14 or 16 hours and he's wore out tired, he don't go straight in the house and eat a sandwich and drink his glass of tea. He washes that horse off, and he feeds her and grains him and puts him up and tends to his animals and takes care of his dogs. If he's been using dogs all day, them dogs get put up and tended to. Then he worries about going in there and cleaning up and eating. And that's a tender side that a lot of people don't see. I think cowboys for a long time have been played off as dumb or insensitive, beer drinking, hell raising, and all that's somewhat true. But I'm telling you, inside of a cowboy is the spirit of the Lord, and that's a spirit that keeps him driving when most men quit. That's a spirit that keeps him tending to something or going hunting at something. There's something inside of a cowboy that just won't let him stop. And people don't understand it. I didn't understand my daddy, and it didn't matter if my daddy was driving a truck or in the oil field, whatever he was doing, there was something in him that drove him way past everybody else. When everybody else was tired and quit, he'd just keep right on pushing it. And there was something inside of him that just had a drive. And it wasn't necessarily for money, or it sure wasn't for no fame or prestige, but it was just something built in him that he just had to push harder. As I grew up, I kind of got that same push and same drive, and I want to be that man. I want to be that hard, tough somebody that goes further than everybody else, lasts longer than everybody else, never whines and whimpers. I never wanted to be one that talked a whole lot or said more than what needed to be said, but I always wanted to be man enough to say exactly what had to be said. And I think that's one of the biggest faults in manhood nowadays is we say a lot what we ought not to say, but when it comes time to really say something that's got to be said, we don't man up and say it or do it. And I think as Christian men, that's our calling. That's what we're supposed to do. And I think as a cowboy, And what's bred in me and been taught to me since I was about a little bitty boy is you do what you got to do, even if it creates a wreck or gets your tail kicked. You got to stand for something, and that's a cowboy's mentality. You know, I don't never go hunting no fight, but if one comes to me, I don't run from it. And like yesterday, we had a big bull jump out of the back of the sale barn, and someone weighed 2,000 pounds and head straight for the highway. Ronnie Tubby was a horseback, and Ronnie cuts out on his horse, goes through the woods, chases him about, it's probably 6-7 miles back through the woods, comes out on the clearing on a whole nother road, but when he comes through that clearing, he's got a rope around that big bull's neck, holding him till I get there with a truck and trailer, you know. That's just the way cowboys, he never even once thought about not catching him. That's what we got to do. And I think whenever the Christian man realizes it's our job to get a hold of this deal and hold on to it, no matter what kind of wreck you get in, I think that's whenever we'll start turning our country around, and the Christian nation will be United States of America, not a political nation. I ain't much on politics, don't understand them. You know, and I'm not trying to be intelligent. I just know that Christian men ain't being heard, and I think it's because we ain't hollering loud enough. But I was called by God to serve Him and to deliver a message, I think a specific message, that God's grace is never ending, that you can't run far enough, He won't be there to hold you, and you can't be sorry enough that He don't love you anyway. You know, I wasn't raised to sugarcoat or soften up nothing, you know. If it smells like a turd, it pretty much is a turd, and I think you ought to call it what it is. I don't think you soften up who you are or what you do. I think you let God mold you and form you to His purpose. I believe that God called me to preach to men and for men, so that we all understand, you know, the Christian man should be the toughest, hardest, longest lasting, go further, stay longer than any man on this earth, because that's what we're called to do. We're called to persevere. We're called to push forward, and with the power of Jesus Christ in your life, there won't nothing stop you. In March 1st of 2007, I'm reading in the book of Mark, and I get to Mark 5, and I can't quote it word for word, but Jesus comes up to this dude in the cemetery, and he's cutting himself with rocks and hiding behind the tombs. And, you know, Jesus cast out them demons, and them demons went and jumped in them pigs, remember? And them pigs jumped off that bluff. And that old boy, when Jesus was getting back in the boat, kept saying, "Let me go with you, Lord. Let me go with you, Lord." And Jesus said, "No." He said, "No, you can't go with me." He said, "Let me go with you, Lord." And he said, "No, you go back and tell all your friends what has been done for you through the grace and the mercy of the Lord." You know, he basically told them, "No, you go back and tell them what I've done for you." And whenever in 2007 we started this Cowboy Church, and I'm really trying to serve the Lord, and I'm still working in the oil field some, and I'm cowboying some, and I read that scripture, and that's when I knew that was what I was supposed to do. I don't preach. I am a horrible preacher. I don't even know how you prepare a sermon. You know, they say, I've heard preachers tell me, "What's your 3 points?" Well, I don't know. But what's your long term? What's your focal? You know, it's just wherever I'm at, whether I'm preaching about T-post versus cedar post, or water troughs with a float in it versus one you stand and fill up, or a good horse. I don't, you know, wherever I see God that week, or whenever God puts on my heart, that's a sermon, you ought to preach it. I preach it. But I don't preach like preachers preach. I just preach from my experiences, and that's what he told that guy in that cemetery to do. And that's what I do. I tell people where I was at, where I am, and where I'm headed. And I think God's got a big plan for us. I preach every Sunday now here at BarNone Cowboy Church, and I've been the full-time preacher here since September of 2008, and I love it. You know, and it's a beautiful place to serve God. It's right where I am. It's cowboy. I can preach about cows, dogs, women, horses, bull riding. I can preach about things that I know about, and I'm telling you, I find them in the scriptures. But I just preach and teach off of what God shows me and reveals to me, and I think that's what my purpose is. And I don't know how long it'll run. I don't have an agenda. Like I said, it's God's glory, not mine. So you know, that's just who I am, where it came from.